Yes. Good morning, students. I welcome you all to Zoology webinar. Today we'll be learning about human excretory system anatomy. I welcome Miss Jansi Garu, PGT Munipalli at Sangareddy district. Ma'am, please take over the session.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am. Respected TSMS team, respected principals, respected coordinators, friends, colleagues, dear students and viewers, a very good morning. Vijayalakshmi ma'am, good morning. Thank you for being with me. Dear students, yesterday we started excretion. We learned a few basic points or things in yesterday's session. Let us quickly recapitulate 4 or 5 important points and then proceed further. We learned the definition of excretion, and I'm sure you can define it now for yourself. Probably, if you were there with me, you could have given me the definition. So let me do it on your behalf. The process of removal of waste material from the body is called nitrogenous waste material from the body is called excretion. Why nitrogenous waste products are produced? We learned that proteins metabolism produces amino acids, and all those amino acids which we don't need, those amino acids cause toxicity. Amino group in that cause toxicity, and hence it should be eliminated out. To this amino group, proton is added, it becomes ammonia. Some of the organisms directly send this ammonia out of their body. Such organisms are ammonotelic. Some of the organisms convert this ammonia into urea. Such organisms are called ureotelic. And some other organisms convert this ammonia into uric acid and send them out. They are uricotelic. The process, we call them as ammonotelism, ureotelism, uricotelism, respectively. Now, why these different types of nitrogenous waste products? We understood it depends upon their aquatic mode of life or terrestrial mode of life. That means where they are surviving, their habitat, their mode of life, and the amount of water that they can spend in eliminating these out. So, those of you who were not there yesterday, for them, this could be like a revision or a gist of what happened in yesterday's class. Today's session, students, we are going to learn about human excretory system. Now, before getting into human excretory system and learning in detail, I just want you people to have a recapitulation of the type of tissues that we have learned last year in second chapter. You remember your second chapter? Second unit, we dealt with the types of tissues in structural organization. There are 4 types of tissues which makes up all our organs and organ systems. So, what was the first tissue that you have learned? It is epithelial tissue, as you can see on your screen. Epi upon, thelial growing on. So epithelial tissue is the one which forms covering and lining of the organs. Now this epithelial tissue, we name them according to the shape of the cells. So you have simple epithelial tissue, you call it when the tissue is made up of only single layer of cells. Otherwise, it becomes stratified epithelial tissue. Stratified means there are many layers. Depending upon the shape of the cells, we call them as squamous. If it is cuboidal, then it cube shape. If it is columnar, that means these cells are tall column-like. And over here, you can see this is again stratified means many layers. And there is something over here which we call it as pseudo-stratified. Pseudo means false. This is actually a single layer of cells, but then it gives you appearance as if there are many layers. Why? Because you find nuclei which are present over here, they are not at the same level. If you look in the previous slides, all nuclei are placed at the same level, but that is not the case here. So we feel that, okay, there are many layers of cells. Hence the name pseudo-stratified. Now look at this. This is very important. In our excretory system, this plays an important role. So this is transitional epithelium. Transitional epithelium, this is also stratified epithelium, means it is made up of 4 layers. Here, transitional epithelium has a characteristic feature of contracting and expanding. So that was all about the epithelial tissue. So we learn about these tissues and talk about these tissues whenever we talk about what a particular organ is made up of. So you have to keep thinking about this particular slide. Next, similarly, let's look at in short about muscles. There are more than 600, 640 muscles in our body, and we divide these muscles into three different types. What are these muscles? As you can see on the screen, skeletal muscles, you have cardiac muscles, and then over here, the smooth muscle. Skeletal muscles, these are attached to bones. This is under our control. And over here, cardiac muscle, this makes up the wall of the heart. Now, internal organs, all our internal organs, whatever muscle is present, all that is this muscle which you can see on your screen, which whose cells are spindle shaped. This forms smooth muscle. They are also called as involuntary muscles because their movement is not under our control. We cannot feel our stomach, wall of entire digestive system, then urinary bladder. All those things are made up of this kind of muscles, which is called as smooth muscle. Smooth muscle shape, as you can see, it is spindle shape, having tapering ends and width in the center. Now, let's talk about human excretory system. What does human excretory system consist of? It consists of a pair of kidneys, this and this, a pair of kidneys, then a pair of ureters, this and this, these pipes, slender pipes moving. There is a bag-like structure, which is urinary bladder, and then a small canal or a tube, which is called as urethra. So your excretory system in human beings, it consists of a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters, a urinary bladder, and urethra. Uh, let's try to understand location of our kidneys. Where are kidneys located? Kidneys are located in the abdominal region of human beings. Now, in the very first lesson, you have understood very clearly that our body is divided into two regions. This upper portion, this particular region is called as thoracic region, where our lungs and heart are situated. And this region, we call this one as abdominal region. Now, both the regions are separated by a horizontal muscle layer, which we call it as diaphragm. So our kidneys, where are they located? They are located in this abdominal region. Probably you can understand very clearly the picture depicts. You can find out where they are located. Now, if you are talking about the bones, presence of bones, where they are present. Now let's go to the next slide to understand this. Very clear and exact location if you have to know, then just have a look at this particular slide. You can see that you can find out over here bones. These are all bones, backbones, our backbone. So kidneys are located on either side of this backbone, vertebral column. Exact location still you want, you can say that they are present between T12. What is this T12, students? T12 means thoracic 12 and L3, lumbar 3. Between these bones, these kidneys are located. When we are talking about our backbone is not one stiff rod. It is made up of single vertebra bones. Single bone of backbone, we call it as vertebra. So one upon the other, these vertebrae are placed forming backbone. According to the position of the vertebra where it is located, we give them names. For example, we find that there are 7 bones in our neck region. So they are called as cervical vertebrae. And then in the thoracic, that means backside of our chest, you have 12 bones, 12 vertebrae. So T1, T2, T3, like that, names are given to them. Then after that, lower back region, you call them as lumbar. So 1, 2, 3, like this, it goes on. So these are 33 bones over here, which you can find. So between this T12 and L3, on both the sides of this, you find this situation of or location of kidneys. Now, apart from that, let's try to understand even this pair of these particular bones. You can very clearly see what are this that I'm talking about. These two bones, they are rib bones. These are rib bones. 11th and 12th pairs of rib bones also cover them. Now, these two bones, pair of bones, they are called as floating ribs. So, exact location of kidneys, once again, in front of, against this thoracic 12 and then till L3. They are located on either side. And from front, you find ribs, 11th and 12th pairs of rib bones protecting them. This is their location. Now, let's try to understand few other things. Size of kidneys. What is the size of kidneys? Each kidney, when you're talking about the length of it, it is around 5 to 6 inches in length. If you're talking about in terms of centimeters, it is 11 centimeters long, 2.5 centimeters thick, and it is 5 centimeters in width. This is the size of kidneys, 11 centimeters long. Thickness, if you are talking about 2.5 centimeters, its width, it is 5 centimeters. 2.5 centimeters is thick. Weight of each kidney. Each kidney is around, dear students, I want all of you to please take down notes as I am telling or explaining. You will not find ready-made content over here. As I'm explaining, please make a note of the things that I'm telling about each point or each concept. So weight of kidneys, each kidney weighs around 120 to 140 grams in case of females. In case of males, they are slightly denser. That means they can range from 120 to 170 grams. This is the weight of kidneys. Now, which one over here do you term it as a right kidney or a left kidney? Maybe I'm just rolling back to previous slide. Okay, I did not name. Fine. Let's talk over here. Now, what is this kidney? Which kidney will it be called as? Right kidney or left kidney? Because you are showing it with your right hand, does this become right kidney? No. Remember this very clearly. When we are talking about diagrams of organisms and human physiology, your right side becomes left here. This is only with regards to diagrams when we are talking about physiology. Again, when you see newspaper articles and all, right is right, left is left. But when you are talking about diagrams over here, this side is actually left for you, for your hand. This is right. But here, how it will it be? This is left kidney. This one is right kidney. Now, when you look at actually both these kidneys, they are not at the same level. That means this kidney which is present, this is right kidney. Right kidney is slightly lower in position than left kidney. Why is it so? Because there is a lever above it pushing it down slightly. To accommodate this, this is slightly down. That is the reason both these kidneys are not located at the same position. Now, color of kidneys, reddish brown in color. Let's move on. Shape of kidneys. Let's try to understand. You can find over here a spoon, right, with its two sides. With its two sides. So one side of the spoon is the depression, having depression, wherein you hold the things. The things are held over here. The other side is outside of this outside portion of a spoon. So this is convex shape, and this depression kind is concave. Similarly, even kidneys shape, if you are talking about, you have that it has got outside convex shape like this, like your spoon, and inside this depression is concave. Over here also, this is convex and this one is concave part, same as I showed over here once again with the help of a spoon, convex and concave. Still, if you have to describe the shape of kidneys, we say that they are bean shaped. Beans, what we eat vegetable, they are bean shaped in shape. If you are talking about beans, their shape, then you say they are kidney shaped. If you are talking about kidneys, then we say that they are bean shaped. For reference, we use like that. Now, next, in this concave part here, you can see that there is an opening. Through this opening, you can find this red blood vessel entering in. So this red blood vessel, which you can find, is renal artery. So through this opening, we find renal artery entering and two things making an exit. One is this funnel shaped structure which is coming out. This is ureter. And this another one is blue shaped vessel carrying deoxygenated blood back to heart, which is renal vein. So this opening over here, a notch, I'm sorry, notch is called hilum. Opening through which things enter and make an exit, we call it as hilum. So this is for right kidney. So this is for left kidney. You can see over here this kind of opening. Renal artery entering, renal vein making an exit. And similarly, you find over here like this ureter coming down. This funnel shaped structure, and then this is a ureter coming out, right? This funnel shaped structure, it is embedded into kidneys. This particular tube, what you are able to see, it forms a funnel shaped structure embedded into the kidneys in a region which is called pelvis. On both the kidneys, on both the sides, you can find that these kidneys have a cap shaped structures present on them. These cap shaped structures, which you can see, they are actually suprarenal glands, or we call them as, in short, adrenal gland. These adrenal glands are endocrine glands. Because they are part and they are above it, I'm just showing this. What about the layers of kidney? Kidney is covered by a fibrous tissue. We call it as fibrous capsule. But this fibrous capsule, we just say fibrous capsule. It is mentioned in our textbook as fibrous capsule, friends. But then we find that this is made up of 3 layers. Outermost layer, over here you can see outermost layer, and innermost layer touching kidney. Those 2 layers are made up of fibrous tissue, that is collagen, white collagen fiber. Middle layer, as you can see, this is fat layer made up of adipose tissue. This one does the job of absorbing any kind of shocks. So what are the 3 layers of kidney? Kidney is covered with fibrous capsule, we say, and this fibrous capsule, in short, is made up of 3 layers. Outermost and innermost is made up of white collagen, whereas the middle layer is made up of fat layer. Now, you learned last year one question in second chapter itself. What are retroperitoneal organs, and give an example. Hope you remember this question. What are retroperitoneal organs? Give an example. So, example for that question is this kidney only. Retroperitoneal organs are kidneys. What do we mean by the term retroperitoneal? If at all this mesoderm lining, that is parietal lining, peritoneum covers any organ only on the ventral side, but not on the dorsal side, such organs are called as, or such peritoneum is called as parietal peritoneum, retroperitoneum, and organs are retroperitoneal organs. You also need to over here have a basic understanding of 2 important terms. Actually, I forgot to mention this when I was teaching in location over here. When we talk about the location of kidneys, kidneys are present in the posterior side of our body, on both the sides of vertebral column, but on the posterior side of our body. That means on the dorsal side. So when we are trying to consider ourselves, our front portion, it is the anterior part. This is the anterior part and ventral, whereas backside we call it as posterior, or it is ventral. One second, friends. Okay. After this, students, let's continue. As I told you in the beginning, human excretory system, we have pair of kidneys. So far, we finished discussing external features of kidneys, their location, size, color, weight, etc. Now let's go on to the next important organ over here. This is nothing but ureter. Now, what about this ureters? Ureters are slender whitish tubes. What are ureters? Slender whitish tubes. What is their length? Length 25 to 30 centimeters. Where do you find this opening of ureter? As I told you, through in the pelvis, through a funnel shaped tube over here. In pelvis, these ureters open into pelvis. And then what about termination? Where do they end? They terminate the urine, whatever is produced over here, into urinary bladder. Opening over here, you have to concentrate here. Opening is from sides and at an angle. Both the ureters open into this urinary bladder, uh, making an angle through an angle, no, from the sides. Now, why this is done? This is to prevent the backward flow of urine into kidneys. If you learn about circulatory system, you know that veins have valves to prevent the backward flow. Similarly, here ureters don't have any kind of valves to prevent the backward flow. That is why they pour through the sides, from the sides, making an angle so that even if bladder is filled up with urine, it doesn't get back into the ureters. Length, I already mentioned. Let's talk about layers. Layer, what is this ureter made up of? Ureter is made up of three important layers. Outermost layer, again, fibrous tissue, fibrous coat made up of collagen fiber. Middle one made up of smooth muscles. And the innermost lining. Lining means it is in touch with the empty space of ureter, which we call it as lumen. So that one is made up of transitional epithelium. Over here, once again, you can see this is transitional epithelium. What is the speciality of this transitional epithelium is, now this epithelium tissues, they can, over here, they can contract and expand. So if at all the tissue or that organ has to expand or contract, suppose over here, if these cells contract, they come close by. When the cell is contracting, here in between, there can be certain spaces being created. So into these spaces, this upper layer cells which are present, they come and fit. Again, when these cells expand, all these layers go back to their place. So this contraction and relaxation can be seen in this transitional epithelium. Same transitional epithelium is also found even in urinary bladder. So this is all about ureter, opening, termination, where does it terminate, end, layers, length. And now let's talk about urinary bladder. How do we define urinary bladder? Urinary bladder is single, that means only one urinary bladder is present. We say that it is median organ. What do we mean by median? MEDIAN, median means it is present on the longitudinal axis of the body. On the longitudinal axis of the body, this is present. Its shape, it is pear shape, shape of a fruit. And here, one important point, this opening, and over here, this opening. There's one opening over here. This urethra has got one opening over here, right? So these three opening which are close by, we call them as trigonal opening. Trigonal opening. These two ureters opening and the origin of urethra here. These three openings together, we call them as trigonal opening. What is, okay, let's continue with urinary bladder. Urinary bladder is once again made up of muscles, smooth muscles. Urinary bladder can get distended. What do we mean by the term distended? Once it gets filled up with fluid, it can expand. So it is like a balloon. If you take a balloon, deflated balloon, and then try to fill it with air. So slowly you find expansion of the balloon. Similarly, here also this can get expanded, which is called distension, distensible. So inside it is made up of dextrosal muscles and innermost lining. That means the lining which face the lumen or the empty space or the cavity of urinary bladder is once again this transitional epithelium. Next, let's study the internal structure of kidney. So far we understood from outside how kidney appears and what are its parts. Now let's try to get into and study. See, this is called as anatomical study, right? What we are learning is anatomy of human excretory system. So anatomy means internal features, study of internal structures. So internal structure of kidney. Now here, look at this word. This is longitudinal section. I'm sure you people definitely know what is the difference between horizontal section, that is transverse section, and horizontal vertical section or longitudinal section. So if you are cutting any fruit or anything in a horizontal way and try to see internal things, then that is transverse section. Normally, how do you cut apples? You don't cut it in the middle, right? In a horizontal way. Cut it straight where you find depression. So if you cut like that an apple and get two equal halves, that is longitudinal section that you are getting to see inside parts of an apple. Similarly, here also, if you have to study kidney and see all the structures properly, we generally try to take a longitudinal section of kidney. When you look at this, you can see kidney has got two distinct layers. Now, this you can you can see the arrow moving. This is the fibrous capsule that we already spoke about, right? Covering. Now, very close to this fibrous capsule, this layer which you are able to see, all this is this layer which is dark colored. This is called as cortex. Why this is dark colored? Because there is lot of blood present in cortical region. Next, here, this region where this inside region where it is not that dark when compared to cortex, we call this region as medulla. Now, in the medullary region, there are certain conical masses present. These conical masses are called as renal pyramids, or we can also call them as medullary pyramid. These are all renal pyramids. In between these renal pyramids, you can see there is this extension of cortex over here like this. There is extension of cortex over here. There is extension of cortex. So this cortex which is present between this or among these renal pyramids, we call it as renal column or columns of Bertini, Bertini. Its spelling is not given here. Students, please make a note of it. It is also called as column of Bertini. What is column of Bertini? It is the extension of cortex between renal pyramids. Now, let's look at renal pyramids. Pyramids have broad base facing cortex. Facing cortex, they have broad base. And this narrow portion down, when it is extending down towards pelvis, this narrow portion, we call it as renal papilla. It is called as renal papilla. Broad base is towards cortex and the narrow portion is renal papilla. Renal papilla opens into very short tube. This very short brown colored tube, what you are able to see. This is called as calyx. Minor calyx, minor, minor calyx, calyx, calyx. Many such minor calyces, plural, calyces. Many such minor calyces, they join together to become one big tube, and this becomes one major calyx. So what is happening here is that small tubes, they join to become one big tube. Many such big tubes, they again join to become a slightly bigger tube. Many such bigger tubes, they join to become more bigger tube. So this is how it goes on. So here we can see this is once again in another renal pyramid. This is renal papilla opening into a very short tube. This short tube is minor calyx. So this minor calyx, this one, all these minor calyces, they join together to form this bigger tube, which is called as major calyx. Now, how many such minor calyces and major calyx exist? Minor calyces, some 7 to 13, and major calyx, some 2 to 3 you find. Major calyx is also called as infundibula. So all these major calyx, they open they pour their secretions into this cup-shaped structure, which is called as pelvis. Now, pelvis continues down as ureter. Now, here once again, you can find here this minor calyx, minor calyx, one big over here. This is one major calyx. Similarly, this forming one big major calyx. So this calyx pouring secretion into over here pelvis. This is the internal structure of kidney. What is each kidney made up of? What are the structural and functional units of kidneys called? They are nephrons. In one kidney, there are 1 million nephrons present. One kidney has 1 million nephrons. Now let's try to understand structure of a nephron. Nephron is divided once again into two parts. We call one part as Malpighian corpuscle. Malpighian corpuscle. Another name for this is renal corpuscle. It is not here. Please write down Malpighian corpuscle or Malpighian body or renal corpuscle. Next part, tube part, is called as tubule. Tubule means very, very small tube, minor tube. Minor word is also big, actually. It is much smaller than that. So this Malpighian corpuscle is once again having two parts in it. Bowman's capsule, glomerulus. Tubule part is, the tube is divided into three parts. What are they? Proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule. Now let's look at all these parts in detail. So whatever you have learned over here in the previous slide about structure parts, let's see the same thing over here. So here, this is renal capsule, renal corpuscle, what we are talking about. This is Bowman's capsule. This cup-shaped structure is Bowman's capsule. And this part, what you are able to see from here till here, this whole part that we are able to see, this is called as renal tubule. So actually, I should be going in this way. This whole part from here till here, it is renal tubule. Now, what is the length of each nephron? That means renal tubule, if you take it out and measure, you find that it is 3 centimeters in length. 3 centimeters in length. So Bowman's capsule, it continues down, and you can see this is having the first part, which is coiled proximal convoluted tubule. Then there is over here another structure, continuation, called loop of Henle. The last part, distal convoluted tubule, opening into a duct, which is called as collecting duct. I'll come to this slide, dear students, afterwards, types of nephrons. Let's complete the other part first. Renal capsule or Malpighian body. I showed you over here, you are having this cup-shaped structure. You can see this is cup-shaped structure here. Same thing in detail we are going to learn here. Yeah, this is a cup-shaped structure that we are going to discuss. This cup-shaped structure is doubled wall. It is having two walls. This is outside wall, which is called as parietal layer, this wall, and this is inside wall, which is called as visceral layer. In between these two layers, whatever space is present, this is Bowman's capsule space. This is the lumen or the space of Bowman's capsule, into which the filtrate actually flows in. Now, what is this? These cells made up of? Cells of Bowman's capsule are made up of squamous epithelial tissue. Now, in the beginning itself, I told you we keep referring to squamous epithelial, cuboidal, etc. That was the reason I showed you that first slide. So this is Bowman's capsule. Both layers, they are made up of squamous epithelial tissue. Now, if we are talking about this inside, layer, visceral layer, the cells over here are called as podocytes. If you look at your feet, you find your leg is having fingers, ups and downs, right? Elevations. Like that, you find here cells are having foot-like structures. Hence, they are called called as podocytes. So this layer is, these cells have podocytes. Now, in between these podocytes, there are certain spaces. You can see this is one space. There is space over here shown. These spaces are present. That means these are the pores present through which the filtrate, after getting filtered, moves into Bowman's capsule. What are these spaces or pores called? They are called as filtration slits or slit pores. They are called as filtration slits or slit pores. So this is all about Bowman's capsule. Double walled cup-like structure, outside layer, inside layer, lumen, space present over here, and podocytes. Right? Now let's talk about glomerulus. This is glomerulus. Glomerulus plus this Bowman's capsule. Glomerulus plus Bowman's capsule together constitutes Malpighian body. Together it makes up Malpighian body. So what is this glomerulus? Glomerulus is this part, this portion. It is nothing but a network of capillaries. In each Bowman's capsule, you have 50 capillaries present. Each Bowman's capsule, there are around 50 capillaries present. So what happens is that renal artery, we have seen in our earlier slides, renal artery, red color artery I showed you, enters and it splits into different branches. Each branch is called afferent arteriole. Smaller artery, branch of artery. This is afferent arteriole. This afferent arteriole, it comes into Bowman's capsule and then divides into fine branches, which we call it as capillaries. All these capillaries, they join together and all of them emerge out as another blood vessel, which is called as efferent arteriole. Now, if you look at the size of this vessel and this vessel, you understand very clearly that this is having lesser diameter than this. And there is a purpose for this. What is the purpose? We will learn about it later. Right? Afferent arteriole has got wider diameter, bigger diameter than that of efferent arteriole. So here each capsule has got a network of capillaries. Network of capillaries is called glomerulus. Glomerulus plus Bowman's capsule. These two together constitute Malpighian body. So we finished with the first part. Now I just want to show you over here podocytes. Can you see the cells? See, they are having over here like this podocytes. Foot-like structures are present. Foot-like structures. Now let's move on to the filtration membrane. What is this filtration membrane? See, I'm rolling back to previous slide. What we learned over here is that, yes, blood is getting filtered, right? Blood is getting filtered through these spaces. Now, what is it, the layers through which this filtrate is coming out, right? We are going to learn that, which is called as filtration membrane. Now, it's in our day-to-day life, we use this, you easily identified, right? Tea strainers or tea sieves, right? So here, after filtering, whatever material is coming out of this, right? This is filtrate. Now, one difference is that here filtrate is useful for us. That is, our tea is very helpful to us. Whereas here, filtrate becomes, in this case, afterwards urine, which is not helpful to us. That is the difference. So here we are making use of one tea strainer or sieve to filter the material. Here this can be in our day-to-day life, what we are using, you generally find single layered, right? But here, same filtration membrane, this is having 3 layers. So please have a look at this particular picture. All the students, your attention towards this small picture. So here, this blue color is Bowman's capsule. This is glomerulus. So you find filtration of blood taking place. right? So this small area, this is magnified here. How, through which actually the after filtration, how the filtrate is coming out. So this is the first layer you're able to see. What is this? This is the capillary Bowman's, sorry, glomerular capillaries, blood capillaries in which blood is present. So this capillaries also have certain spaces in between them through which all the molecules, plasma, urea, everything comes out. This is the first one, right? This one is actually blood capillary, wall of blood capillary. Here blood is present. This is the lumen of blood capillary. These are the cells of capillaries. In these capillaries, at different places, there are minute pores present. These pores are called as fenestrae. They are called as fenestrations, fenestrae. So this fenestrae which are present, and this is a layer. This is the first layer. Second layer is this lamina densa. What you are able to see, that this is called as basement membrane. This is the second layer. And the third layer, what you are able to see over here, is Bowman's capsule layer only. Same, same thing once again, same filtration membrane. You can see there are three layers. This first portion, what you are able to see, this is the blood capillary. Blood capillary. That means we are talking about the capillaries over here. One single capillary we have taken. This is having blood in it, and this is a single layer. I'm sure you know that capillaries are made up of single layer of tissue, which we call it as endothelial tissue. In between these cells of capillaries, there are certain spaces present. So these spaces which are present, these are fenestrae. This is the first layer. Second layer is this layer, Bowman's capsule. And then the third layer, these are the podocytes. I was referring to Bowman's capsule, inner layer, visceral layer, podocytes. So between these podocytes, there are pore sites present. There are these spaces present, which are filtration slits. So filtrate gets filtered through this this Bowman's capsule and through this, and then enters into this region here. Hope you understood. Whatever blood is coming, it gets filtered, these passes through this basement membrane and enters into through these spaces, it enters into this region. So this is how filtration of blood takes place. So filtration membrane is having three layers. Now, as you can see over here, this is for our reference. I kept nephron. So this is a Bowman's capsule, tuft of capillaries, which is glomerulus, and then it extends into the first portion, which is proximal convoluted tubule. Convoluted means coiled. Proximal, this is very close by to Bowman's capsule. That means Bowman's capsule continues into the lumen of this tubule, which is PCT. Here, I want your attention towards the histology of PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. It is made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue. These cells are cuboidal epithelial tissue. And you can see that all these tissue, they have microvilli present on them. Brush border appearance, we say. Why these microvilli they are called as brush border appearance having? It is because if you look at your toothbrushes, most of the toothbrushes you find they have bristles. These bristles, they are of uniform size, right? In the same way, these microvilli are also like that bristles of toothbrush in appearance, having uniform size. So same thing is highlighted here. Here also, see all these ups and downs like this. These are called microvilli. If you remember, in digestive system also you have learnt about microvilli. Did it strike you where you have learnt? Small intestine cells have microvilli. And what is the importance of this microvilli? It increases the area of absorption and digestion. Here also, PCT plays an important role. It plays an important role of absorption. That is the reason these cells are having microvilli. And what is if you are talking about the tissue, that it is made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue. So Bowman's capsule enters into this empty space, what you are seeing. Here filtrate enters and then it continues down. So Bowman's capsule enters into this into the lumen of PCT. And another important point, mitochondria. PCT, it has got lot of mitochondria. Cells of PCT have lot of mitochondria present in them because there is lot of energy needed over there. Next structure that we are going to learn. See, if you are able to see over here, structure of nephron, this PCT, it continues down like this. This structure. This is called as loop of Henle. Now, same loop of Henle, here you can see like this. Loop of Henle, we say that its structure is like that of a hairpin, which is used mostly by the girls. Hairpin, having two limbs. This is one limb and this is another limb. So this limb, you can find the arrow down. That means we find the liquid coming down. That is the reason this is called as descending limb. And here you can find this arrow moving up. That means this is ascending limb. Loop of Henle consists of two limbs. One is descending limb, the other one is ascending limb. And then both the limbs are connected by this U-shaped structure. So these two limbs with the U-shaped structure constitutes loop of Henle. Loop of Henle, this part, this descending part, limb, this is permeable to water. That means it allows only water to come out of it. Whereas ascending limb is permeable to here. This is permeable to only sodium ions. Now, let's talk about again tissues or the cells that makes up this descending limb. Descending limb, it is made up of squamous epithelial tissue, whereas this ascending limb is made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue. So loop of Henle constitutes it continues as distal convoluted tubule here. This is distal convoluted tubule. Again, convoluted means coiled tube, and distal because it is far away from Bowman's capsule. This is called as distal convoluted tubule because it is far away from Bowman's capsule, little far away. That is the reason. This is again made up of cuboidal epithelial tissue, and it continues down as collecting duct. The cells of collecting duct, you find it is made up of columnar epithelial tissue. Now, renal blood flow. Let's try to understand this. I'm just rolling back once again. Please don't get confused. Let us see what we have learned over here. We have learned artery comes, splits into efferent arteriole. This is splitting into capillaries. All the capillaries join together. It forms efferent arteriole and this goes out. All the efferent arterioles, they join together and it becomes renal vein, and renal vein goes back, taking blood back, deoxygenated blood back to heart. So renal blood flow, let us try to understand how it is taking place here. Sorry friends, I'm having power cut problem here. So here, renal artery, it enters into it becomes arterioles. These arterioles splits into efferent arterioles. Each arteriole, after entering into glomerulus, it forms capillaries. All the capillaries join together to form efferent arteriole. Efferent. Now, one important thing that you have to understand here, there are two sets of capillaries that are forming actually in kidney. One set of capillaries you can find that is present in glomerulus. One set of capillaries are found here in glomerulus. Another set of capillaries is this arteriole which is coming out, emerging out of glomerulus. This is once again getting split into two sets of capillaries. One is peritubular capillaries, the other one we call it as vasa recta. So these capillaries, they all join together and become renal vein. This is how blood flow takes place in kidneys. Just have a look at this. You know, artery comes, arteriole comes, and these are all capillaries. Then all the capillaries, they join together, it becomes a vein. So here also, what is happening is that these capillaries which are there, they all join together. In our case, here in kidneys, it is becoming an arteriole. Arteriole once again splits into capillaries, which we call them as peritubular capillaries. And in another case, it is also called as vasa recta. So all these capillaries which are formed are from this arteriole, they join to form renal vein. So here you can see renal arteries coming. This is efferent arteriole. Here there are 50 capillaries forming glomerulus. All of these join together. Efferent arteriole is coming out. This efferent arteriole is once again splitting into different capillaries. Can you see this capillaries surrounding this tubule? So these set of capillaries that are present around PCT and DCT, we call this set of capillaries as peritubular capillaries. Whatever capillaries are seen around PCT, proximal convoluted tubule, and DCT, distal convoluted tubule, we call these tubules, these capillaries as peritubular capillaries. Capillaries, again, this efferent arteriole, it forms another set of capillaries which surround this loop of Henle. This set of capillaries is called vasa recta. So be it vasa recta or peritubular capillaries, all these join together to become a vein and venule, and it goes back as renal vein. Hope you understood this blood flow, friends. Once again, artery comes, splits into arterioles, that is efferent arteriole. Bowman's capsule, you find set of capillaries, which we call it as glomerulus. All these capillaries join together and you get efferent arteriole. Actually, efferent arterioles, all of them should join and become vein. But that is not the case that is taking place. Second set of capillaries is once again forming. First set of capillaries has already formed here. There is again second set of capillaries that is being formed, and this is from efferent arteriole that is coming from here. This is splitting into these capillaries. The capillaries that are surrounding proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule together constitute peritubular capillaries, whereas the capillaries that surround this loop of Henle, these are called as vasa recta. Now, let me go back to one slide which I said I would teach you later, and that is types of nephrons. Structurally, there is no difference. We have two types of nephrons. One type of nephrons, we call them as cortical nephrons. The second set of nephrons are called as juxtamedullary nephrons. Structurally, there is no difference. So what are the other minute differences that you can find? Please make a note of the differences that I'm talking about. There are 3 differences. Cortical nephron, you can see this is present in cortex. That means Bowman's capsule, that is renal capsule, proximal convoluted tubule, distal convoluted tubule, everything is present in cortex. Whereas this juxtamedullary nephron, cortical nephron, Bowman's capsule, and this proximal convoluted tubule, this distal convoluted tubule, these are present at the junction of medulla and cortex. So position wise, they are different. What you can see that this is present in the cortex part, whereas this is present here at the junction of cortex and medulla. So location wise, they are different. Structurally, there is no difference. Same, made up of same parts. Second part is that loop of Henle. When you are looking, this loop of Henle is very small, whereas in juxtamedullary nephron, loop of Henle is very long. It penetrates deep into medulla. This is the second difference. Loop of Henle is very short over here, and this has got long loop of Henle, or it loop of Henle penetrates deep into the medulla. This is the second one. The third difference, this cortical nephrons doesn't have that extra capillaries around them. That is, vasa recta is absent here. Whereas juxtamedullary nephrons, they have this particular loop of Henle, they are surrounded by capillaries, which we call it as vasa recta. So vasa recta is present here, vasa recta is absent here. And let's talk about the last difference, that is number. Which is more in number? Cortical nephrons are more in number in human beings. 80% of our nephrons are made up of cortical nephrons, whereas this constitutes only 20%. So this brings us to the end of the human anatomy related to excretory system. Dear students, let me try to roll all the slides once again. I'm not going to explain anything. Just have a look at all the slides. This is for your revision of the whole topic, what we learned. We learned about different epithelial tissues, muscle cells, excretory system, what it consists of, location, where it is located, the bones, ribs, then which kidney is lower, why, which one, human beings, which one is called right, which one is called left, right? So all these, hope you understood. Okay. This brings us to the end of today's session. Hope, dear students, that you people have understood today's topic. If there are any queries, you can get back to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jhansi Madam, for a wonderful explanation on human excretory system.
Ma'am, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, yeah, can I leave, ma'am? Hello?
Yes.
Thank you, Jhansi Garu. Thank you, Vijayalakshmi Madam.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, Zoology team.
Thank you all ma'ams who are there with me. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for all the efforts you have put in.
Thanks.
You may leave now. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sanjay Garu, Krishna Kumar sir, Sridevi Madam.
Sanjay Madam, we are live. You're still live.